Not all of them? How many? Let's have it. Just see that. Celebrate your Christmas. Right.
Oh, Jagannatha Nirmala Devi ki jai.
Now you all can burn, all of you, this for all those who want to venture, not me. What's that? This
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for waiting. Good evening and good morning wherever you all are. And today again we are going to actually the land of the spirit of the universe, which is the UK, which is the England. And with my great pleasure, I would like to introduce Christopher Greaves. And Christopher Greaves is a Sahaja yogi since 1978. And he's an author and he's a cultural master and a retired intellectual, actually. And so we are so excited actually to introduce him. We will hear so many stories from him, and I would like to welcome him right now. Good morning, Chris. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
Good
Yes,
morning.
Srimati.
Yes, Shumataji. Yes, Shumataji. So nice to see you with a good, beautiful smile in early morning. I know it's quite early, 5:22 right now, right?
Correct.
So nice. And I hope you had a good sleep and I hope you had a rest, good enough rest.
Yes, yes.
Very nice, very nice. So pleasure to have you in our meeting, and we really look forward to listen all those beautiful experience and the memories and the stories from your side, and of course with Shrimataji. And but as we always, we start for this program with the meditation first, and then after that, so we will definitely we would like to listen all those stories. But beside that, of course, we have another guest yogi, Saj Yogi, Anna Morgan, who will be joining to our program from Bay Area, San Francisco, Anna Morgan. And she's actually since 20 years Sahaja Yogi, and she plays sitar. And welcome, Anna.
Good evening, everyone. Jai Shri Mataji.
Hey, Shrimati Anna, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you
You have also beautiful smile.
for inviting me to perform once again. And I have something a very interesting composition today in a very interesting tal. So I hope you enjoyed the rag, as an extract from the rag of Madhmat Sarang in Shashanka tal, which is five and a half beats.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope you enjoy.
Wow, so we never listened this before, right? This is the
We
new
did.
one.
So yeah,
Oh, this is nice. But whatever we listen from you, even if it is, the old ones, but we don't remember, because the tune, the play you play is always so connected, and you always put us into meditation so easily. And yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for joining to our program, and welcome again. Jai Shri Mataji.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So thank you. So I would like to hand over to Chris, and so we will have actually with Chris, we will have a meditation, and so today actually we will do a little different, and we will be we will be meditating with the music and more silent, and less affirmation or less mantras, but we will try to go into deep meditation with Chris, right, Chris? So I would like to hand over to you right now.
Okay. I'm going to just read something from one of my books to begin with, and then we can have some music. Okay, so this is from a book called Sahaja. I take off my shoes. I wash my hands. I take my seat on the ground. I put myself in bandhan. I raise my kundalini. I pronounce Sri Ganesha's mantra. All around me, wheresoever I am, a sanctuary takes shape. Of innocence, its floor, walls, ceiling, door. No gross thing may intrude. Sri Ganesha, I praise you. I offer you red flowers, the flowers of my desire for innocence. Please help me to be innocent. May all my thoughts be wise. May my actions be auspicious. May my character be purified. May my character be dignified. To the left side, the past. To the right side, the future. In the center, the present. Here only, the real. The rest as dreams. Let me wake from that state of sleep in which I dream those dreams. Mother, I am the spirit. Whatever was done, Sri Mataji, you did it. Whatever needs to be done, Sri Mataji, you do it. Mother, I am the spirit, the witness. May this self-knowing grow in me. May it expand to fill me whole. Now a prayer. To the house of the heart, let me invite you. With due decorum, may I invite you. Mother, Kundalini, please enter my heart. Let the path be swept clear and be strewn with sweet flowers. May incense be burned and a lamp be enlightened. May arti be done at the gate of my heart. Mother, please enter my heart. 4 square, built on the ground of faith and innocence, secure against the wind and rain, the storms of fate, the storms of time, the ravages of thieves and enemies. May this be a place of art and science, of beauty, wisdom, and love. Mother, please enter my heart. May there be music to please you. May hospitality be here. Mother, please enter my heart. On the shelves, the books of knowledge, of the names of stars and wild flowers, of trees and singing birds. In conversation, mirth, encouragement, and courtesy. Mother, please enter my heart. Let this be a place of work and play, of playful work and ardent play. May all things be done to conduce to your comfort. Mother, please enter my heart. Let no harsh words be spoken here. Let there be no unforgiveness, no wish for revenge. What has passed, it is over now. What has not yet come does not exist. I release it to the winds of possibility. If the present is the point which is everywhere, may I live in the present. Mother, please enter my heart. Yes, imperfections and shadows. But in a temporal realm, how can there not be imperfections? Dust forms, things age, bright colors fade. And how can there not be shadows in a realm of light and darkness, where for every action there is also a reaction? I would like to be beyond both acting and reacting. Mother, please enter my heart. And in the glass of Samadhi, may I see myself there in your heart. Mother, please enter my heart. Jai Sri Mataji. So, if you would like to put some music on. so we can raise our kundalinis, put ourselves in bandhan.
So, yes, it was very nice and very different meditation we had it honestly today. But it was really, I would like to start with myself, Chris. And I never listen honestly. This such with the Western classical music, the meditation I never have done before. But what it is, with my experience, and I don't know, even I didn't understand honestly, but my Sahasrara with my Kundalini was so strong. And I would like to hear from you. I'm sure everyone would like to hear from you. I know the son name is or Regina Mundi Clara, uh, but it looks like from the Mother Mary, who is your Mahalakshmi. But we would like to hear from you what it was and what it is.
Yes, it's Latin, and it's a praise of the Mother of Mary. Yeah. I mean, I don't have all the words, but it was written a very long time ago in the probably late 1400s. So we're talking, 100 years before Shakespeare. And there was a highly developed art of polyphony, of this beautiful polyphonic music in England. But a lot of it was destroyed later on when the Puritans started wrecking all the churches and everything. And about this particular composer, John Brown, we know virtually nothing. There's just a few pieces of his music which are have survived in the Eton Choir Book, which is a famous boarding school here in England. And there's about 5-6 pieces maybe that are left in their totality. And this is one of them, which I just think is a masterpiece, really beautiful. So normally I would listen, if I listen to music when I meditate, it would be to Indian instrumental music. But sometimes, for a little change, I like polyphony. So there we are.
Yes, it was a good change for us, for all of us, I guess. I believe it was for Romaison, it was wonderful. I mean, really, the vibrations on my hands and my sahasrara my kundalini on my sahasrara was so strong, and I could able to really meditate.
Good.
It was very nice and very different for me from my side, honestly. And let's ask everyone, did everyone also feel the same, or how did everyone feel during the meditation today? Does anyone would like to share on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself? Okay. Okay.
Hello, my dear sister.
Hi, Mandana.
Hello, and Mr. Christopher. I want to say my experience. I feel very cool vibration in my hand, especially in my left side, because I'm a left-sided person and I have never such experience before. That's all my finger in my left side was feeling cool breeze, and it was the first time that I feel like that, because I used to meditation with the people that they are left-sided. It's the first time that I feel like this. And thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Very nice, Mandana. So nice to hear from you. Thank you. Yes, yeah, I see some messages for you, Chris. Yeah, Narina says, very peaceful and deep meditation. And Shruti says it was a beautiful composition. I felt very calm and strong vibrations. I have never heard such a piece, and I don't have many words to explain, but it was beautiful. So Shruti says this for you. Very nice. Thank you, Shruti and Narine and Mandana. So, yes. So Chris, I announced that you started Sahaja in 1978. And so honestly, I was quite young, not like a toddler. And I'm sure some of us didn't born yet, or some of us just little, small child, or going to be, the like maybe 10, 11 years old. But it's an early time, it's 78. And of course, as we all know, Srimati just started Sahaja Yoga, or she opened the Sahasrara of the universe in 1970. And I believe you are one of the very early yogis in those years. And we would like to hear from you. How did you start Sahaja those years, in that years?
Well, do you want to know about how I came?
Yes,
How I
yes, please.
So, well, I was a seeker, obviously, and I always felt that the only thing that matters is to, I would say that I was more interested in changing the world, in transforming the world, rather than myself. I mean, I sort of, obviously, the two things are involved. I knew that, I was aware of that. But I wasn't so worried about myself. It was more this feeling, which was very common during the 1960s when I was growing up, that somehow we have to transform this world. But of course, if you take that a little to the left side, it becomes a nightmare of drugs and so on. If you take it to the right side, it becomes a nightmare of politics. So where was the center? And then I was living in Bristol in England, where I'm living now, which is about 100 miles west of London on the same latitude. And I was sharing a flat at the time. It's quite an interesting little story, this. I was sharing a flat with a couple of musicians, good friends of mine. One I'm still in touch with, Steve Kirby, who's a great guitarist. He's the professor of harmony at Berkeley Jazz College. Great title, professor of harmony. And so I was seeking, and anyway, I'm not a musician myself, but they and a couple of other friends had a little music group, and they wanted a name for this group. It was playing kind of folky jazz, very nice music. They were very good musicians. One was a violinist, and there were two guitarists and a percussionist. And I had an old school friend who was also a bit of a seeker, a bit lost, unfortunately. But he suggested this name, Sahaja. So Sahaja played a few gigs around Bristol for a year or so. And then one day I came across in a music magazine a little advertisement saying that Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi would grant en masse self-realization in London. Caxton Hall, this famous Caxton Hall.
Yes.
And it was just after my birthday in the summer of 78. It didn't say Sahaja Yoga, it just said en masse self-realization. So everything fell out very easily. Some of the musicians actually were going to London that day. I got a lift up there. I was still uncertain. You know, they were going off to a concert. I thought, what will I find when I go to this meeting? You know, will I be embarrassed and so on?
Mhm.
But when I got there to Caxton Hall, there was this big poster outside, and it said Sahaja Yoga, and I thought, well, this is a symbol if ever there was. So I
Mm.
went in, and Sri Mataji was there. There was Gregoire de Kalmamatan. He introduced the meeting. He was very forthright. This
Mm.
is Sri Mataji is the one who has come to this world to give this transformation that we're looking for. And I never doubted that for a moment. I'm a very skeptical sort of person.
Mhm.
Skeptical about, I say, everything,
Mm.
everything except God
Mhm.
and the Spirit. But I never doubted this. And so from that moment on, very slowly at first, but then with a little more vim, I gradually became something of a Sahaja yogi.
Mhm. Yes, so wow, so beautiful. So Chris, and I think you one thing I would like to remind you also, when Shrimataji saw you, when Shrimataji met you, and she said something to you about
Yeah, so
remember?
I was very, I'm quite a shy person. I was very shy then, still am a little bit. So I thought when I went to the meeting, there are there were various rooms in Caxton Hall. It's not a meeting place any longer. It's flats now, I think. But some of the meeting rooms there were big, some were small. This was sort of medium sized.
Mhm.
And it was full of people. And I thought, if I go to the back, sometimes at these meetings they say, everybody at the back, come to the front, you know. So I thought, if I sit in the middle, I'll be safe. And so I sat in the middle. But even then, Srimati, she gave a talk, and then she looked around, she spotted me, and she said, "Ah, an intellectual. You you won't find it in books, you know, the truth." And I said, "Yes, I know that." And it went on from there, basically. But
Mhm.
so I was, yeah, stigmatized by being an intellectual.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time to accept that and to try to make the best of it.
Yes, yes. So were you surprised when Shrimataji told you that, oh, the very intellectual one is here? Were you surprised because you were very new in Sahaja, right? That time, how did you think how Shrimataji knew or how she guessed it that you are into too much lecture?
I was very surprised. I mean, I didn't look like an intellectual. I looked like a sort of hippie. I had very long hair.
Mhm.
But already, before that moment, Gregoire had been working on me, standing behind me, and he was holding out his hands towards me. And he said, "Is your mother dead?" And I was very surprised. How could he know that? You know, I'd never met him. I hadn't spoken to anyone. Uh, and then he said, "Did she die a long time ago?" And she did. I mean, she died. We were in Africa at the time, and she died of an illness there when I was one. So I don't remember. And so this was very striking to me. How could he know that just from feeling it, from my being? So that was quite, I wouldn't say it was convincing, but it was definitely a powerful experience, you know.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, so
Yes, yes. Amazing. Yeah. Beautiful. So, Chris, were you be in many public program in the Carson Hall and Bristol and with Shrimataji and with the many yogis in those?
yes. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I suppose I was one of the first of what you might call the second wave of Sahaja yogis. She often talks about how she was working with 6 or 7 hippies to begin with.
Yes.
So they were the ones who had really begun to establish Sahaja Yoga and to hold these public meetings. And then I came along. They were all in London. I was here in Bristol. But there was another, the nephew of one of them, Alan, who lives in America now, a great chap. He was living in Bristol by chance. So, in fact, Sri Mataji said, when she met me that first time, she said, there's someone very good in Bristol. You should go and see him. And I sort of pictured this old man with white hair, you know, a real guru. I got in touch. I got in touch with Alan, and he turned out to be younger than me. He was just a young architecture student, but very nice. And then my the person, Ruth, who was to become my wife, she moved into the flat below me, and Steve, this musician, this guitarist who I was sharing our flat with, he came along a few months later to also to Sahaja Yoga. And then, yes, my wife to be, Ruth, she went up one day to London without telling me. She went along to a meeting with Sri Mataji, and she decided also, like me, that this is it. And she too never looked back. And so at that point, after a few months, we had 3 people in that one house meditating, and whenever I could, I would go up to Caxton Hall. And Sri Mataji, when she was in England, almost every week she was giving meetings there. And it was wonderful. I mean, those early talks are tremendous. I think I don't know, but she had high hopes of people coming. They're deep, you know, they're very deep, those early Caxton Hall talks. Later, sometimes she just spoke in a simpler way. I think she felt maybe, you know, it's not taking off as it should have done. So she often simplified what she was saying, but those early Caxton Hall meetings were absolutely life-giving to me. I mean, there was so much nourishment there. You know, one can listen to these talks over and over again. So, and then in 1980, so after about a year and a half, 2 years, we organized. I mean, I was so slow to do anything. It seems very reprehensible now, but at the time, you know, when, you know, you think things are going to go on the same forever, and you don't realize how quickly time passes. But we asked Sri Mataji to Bristol, so she came, she stayed with us, and she came another 3 times over the next 4 years. And we had meetings in Bristol, Bath, Exeter, which is another city down in this part of the world. And it was, you know, fascinating to see just how dynamic she was, how all the time she was working on people, being completely natural, a mother, a woman, just, but, you know, but a divine being at the same time. And all these different dimensions working out. You know, it was so transformative.
Yes, yes. It's so nice to hear those experience. Like we are right now experiencing those experience by hearing or by listening. So this is amazing how you say that it was like a life-giving experience, right? You told in the moment. And those talks from the Caxton Hall and Bristol, from all the talks from England and the land of the spirit and the place where you were born, or where the old yogis are from the olden times, all those years. So it's the life-giving experience, how you experience it. And now for the in Sahaja, whoever joined, I mean, whoever got their self-realization and whoever they became actually absolute when they connected with this absolute truth. And those talks are giving right now to life experiencing to us. And so you were in that moment, but we are watching and listening or recording. In our time, we were listening from the cassette in my time. But of course, through the right now, when the technology, of course, when they became, so, all those videos, when they put it on as a YouTube and everything, now everyone is able to experience this life experiencing who are the seeking of the truth. And it's amazing. So you are the history in that moment you had it. Now we are experiencing those moments with those videos, with those talks, and right now also. That is really is a big treasure for all of us. I always feel, Chris. Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say that,
Please,
of course, the very early talks are only audio. You don't get video until, I don't know, 1980, maybe. And so what you probably don't see is how Sri Mataji at those meetings in Caxton Hall and Bristol and elsewhere would work on people individually. She would come after her talk and she would come around, show us how to work on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so much interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, there was so much to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And just how, as I say, how dynamic she was, how much she completely gave of herself, with not a great deal of response from people. Obviously some people recognized who she was to some extent, but others certainly didn't, as they still don't. But it was nothing to her. She gave of herself completely all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, amazing. So beautiful, Chris. And of course, in those years, you were learning from Sri Mataji and from the older yogis. And once you really got this self-realization, or when you start to learn this absolute knowledge by hearing from Sri Mataji, by teaching from the other yogis, and I'm sure you start to reflect this knowledge to everyone who were seeking of the same truth. And so like learning process, of course, started in those Caxton Hall and all those public programs. And then I believe you were also, and with the other yogis, you were also becoming a channel actually for the other seekers of the truth with this in this journey, right?
Yes, we were trying to. Yes, we started holding meetings here and working through. I mean, the people who came very early on, a lot of them were very weird. I mean, people who had really damaged themselves. I would say nowadays we get much more normal people coming to our meeting, basically more centered people, but not necessarily so desirous of truth. People can just rather come and go. At least in those early days, there were some real, deep seekers who presumably had taken their birth at this time because they sensed in some way that this was the moment, this was the, rebirth of the world, and they had a part to play. But very, very many damaged people, unfortunately. I should say one other thing, which is not, I'm sure it's not very clear to people now, but when you were with Sri Mataji, you were very much in the eye of the storm, if you could say like that. And if you stepped out of that eye a little bit, you into sort of metaphorically speaking, into a feeling of guilt or of too much self-consciousness, then it could be very difficult. You're standing next to the Adi Shakti. She's in the room with you. You feel naked in a way, everything about your faults, all your faults you feel are on display. But of course, that's an illusion, we're the spirit. But if you, as I say, if you wander a little bit from the eye of that storm where you are just the spirit, and identify yourself with your past or the ego, then yes, you could feel terrible, terrible, about yourself.
Yeah.
So you may feel cool vibrations and at the same time feel, oh, what a terrible person I am, how wretched, what am I doing here? So it was quite challenging, not always, but occasionally it was very challenging. And then at other times, just felt such exuberance in Srimati's presence. This was such an adventure, such a joyous thing. So yeah, it was it was a big thing. Very
Oh, so sweet. And but also in the same time, can we say, Chris, for example, when you were with Srimati, with those, as you said, like a blockage or some clean, like you were not happy with your state, maybe in front of Srimati, but in the same time, were you also feeling such an easy cleansing in front of Srimati when you were surrendering to her? Was it easy?
Yeah, I would say so.
Easy means like quick. It was quick cleansing what's happening in front of Shradi Shakti.
Yes, it was quick. I mean, you know how our habits can stick on for a long time. So, but yeah, what can I say? I mean, in a way, you judge yourself. You're the easiest person to judge because you know yourself. You know yourself. I know myself better than anyone. But at the same time, while I'm in myself, so what I'm trying to say is sometimes at meetings, people ask me, I expect they've asked you, what have you got from Sahaja Yoga? What has it given you? I always find that a very difficult question to answer because, I think, well, this person who's asking me, I've never met them before. They don't know me at all. I could make up any old story, about how I've changed. It's been a radical transformation, etc., etc. But, they don't know me. So how can they judge? It's a bit like that. I've lost the thread of what I was going to say.
No worries.
Sometimes I look back on myself. For example, my friend Steve, the guitarist, who was there at the beginning, he wrote to me the other day for Christmas. We exchanged emails, and he mentioned the other friend, the violinist girl who was living in that flat, and how she'd just written a memoir, and that we were in it. And I was very surprised to hear that, and rather pleased. But I just thought, it just reminded me of how ignorant I was at that time. I knew so little about life, virtually nothing. And so, yeah, I must have changed quite a bit, I think, over the years, and through the grace of Srimati.
Yes, I believe indeed. Yeah, very nice. So, Chris, someone who is from Italy, I think hi to you, Pimbar. Pimbar is with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pimbar, good morning. Good morning, Pimbar. Would you like?
Hi, Sanay. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Pimbar.
Hello. Happy Christmas.
How are you going? Really interesting to hear your memoirs, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's you know what it's like at these things, that you sort of want to say something very specific, story, but it tends to be very vague when it comes out of your mouth. You know, oh, it was great, it was fantastic, and so on. But
That's
yeah,
why I write songs and you write books, because we have more
exactly.
time.
Yeah, it's important to write it down what one can. Yeah. Of course, I remember your brother. He was very helpful to me, Pat, in those early days, and I remember him, you know, I asked him a little bit about himself, and he said he was an artist or he'd studied art, and that was good to know, you know, that there were people who were artists, and not everyone was a sort of from a very religious background.
Mm.
Again, that was something, you know, this whole religious conditioning is a sort of lens through which one looked at Srimati at Sahaja Yoga, and to kind of try to see clearly without all that religious stuff. I mean, it has its value, of course, but it can also be a very distorting lens, you know, so that
Yeah.
we don't see things directly. And those people, you know, Pat and your sister Maureen and Christine, who was there, Douglas, who was so down to earth. Yeah, yeah. He was particularly helpful to my wife Ruth when she first came along, and
Dougie was wonderful. He was so open and helpful and so self-confident as well, but in
yeah,
a really sort of sincere and down-to-earth way, as you say.
yeah, definitely. And you just needed people like that. You know, I don't know. Perhaps they get credit for it, but they should. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were great.
I have a question for you, Chris, if I may. Mother always encouraged creativity of, you know, in everyone, you know, not just the obviously artistic people. And I think my journey into music, although it had sort of started, really took off in a big way through Sahaja Yoga. You've done written some important books. Were you already a writer before Sahaja Yoga, or did that develop
Yeah.
during it?
No, I was always writing, always, and but very sort of slowly, you know, polishing, trying to perfect the imperfectible. And yeah, so she was very encouraging like that. I remember once it was, I think it was the last time she came to Bristol, and I was really struggling. I was trying to write a book about Sahaja Yoga, and she was, you know, encouraging me there, but I thought, oh my God, she's going to say, look, Chris, you've got to stop all this writing business, take up a proper job like chartered accountancy, you know, learn something practical. And she called me in to her room, and she said, she didn't talk about anything like that. She just said, right, you're going to write this book about art. And she talked for about an hour. I wish I'd been able to record it, but she said, take notes. So she talked about the whole history of Western art. And I'd already, I mean, I hadn't mentioned this at all, but as a postgraduate, I'd studied what was called cultural studies. And for my dissertation, which I never finished, but it was on this very subject of Western art. And it was to do with the feeling that in the 20th century, the sort of history, the story of art had reached a climax beyond which, I mean, when you reach complete abstraction or you reach conceptual art, where is there to go? The story has kind of reached an end point. So that seemed to me very significant. It said something about evolution, and there had to be some, jump, which is, as we know, is Sahaja Yoga. So I'd had all these ideas, but then suddenly, without my having ever mentioned them to her, she was telling me, this was in '85, yes, you must write this book about art. And she gave me a title. She tried out various things, and one of them was this art, love, and truth. And as soon as she said that, which was it's a very passionate title. I wouldn't have naturally thought of it myself. I would have chosen something more sort of neutral. But art, love, and truth is so committed. And she said you should call it that. And I felt that's it. It put the whole thing in a different perspective. So yeah, I'm a writer, but it took me again many goes. I mean, I wrote that book once and I wasn't satisfied with it. And I wrote it again, I wasn't satisfied with it. Finally, I wrote a version which seemed to me just right. It is quite intellectual, it's scholarly, it's written in a proper scholarly way. And some people, it's not necessarily an easy read. I would say that it to me it's easy, but you need the attention to go into it. You have to have a committed attention to it. So I try to make everything clear, but it's a very intense, dense book that looks at art as, it sort of asks the question, what is true art? I accept that there are all sorts of things that people call art. They sell them as art. Fair enough. It is art to them and to other people, and some of it's very successful. But is it true? What relation does it have to the spirit, to truth? The spirit that is the truth that loves. So the book goes into a lot of what is art that is coming from the left side, and art which is very interesting to me that is coming from the right side, from the supraconscious, about which we know very little. I mean, even this word supraconscious, I've never heard anyone except Sri Mataji use this word. We talk about the subconscious, that's quite a common psychological term, although it means different things to different people. The supraconscious is unusual, and I feel personally that our whole society, our whole culture is so imbued with this supraconscious ideology, that we don't see it. We don't see how superconscious these buildings are, these tower blocks and modern design and so on. We accept it as kind of normal, we take it for granted, but it's very distorting, and so it has a big influence, is what I'm saying. And this book, Art, Love and Truth, it tries to kind of chart a path between the subconscious and the superconscious, and says spiritual art, true art, is in the center, and it has many different aspects. There's sort of balance, there's beauty, there's exuberance, and so on. So I look at these different qualities. Also, throughout the book, I'm talking about one or two artists who I particularly love. It's not that I mean, one of them is the sitarist, the late sitarist, Ustad Vilayat Khan, who I just feel it was a genius of geniuses, just an extraordinary man as a musician. And the other is a Western figure, maybe less well known, I don't know, Bill Evans, the pianist, who he had a lot of personal problems, but for me, again, he's a musician whose music just gives and gives. I never find it, I never exhaust it. I can play it again and again. And So I talk a lot about these two musicians, especially Bill Evans, because he wrote some very interesting things about art, to try to give another aspect to the whole thing, which is what it is to be an artist in this time. You know, how difficult it is to be a true artist, trying to uphold a spiritual vision of what art is and can be. So anyway, that's Art, Love and Truth. It was published about three years ago, maybe, through the auspices of Richard Payment, who's a great Sahaja yogi who lives just outside Bristol, and he's been so helpful to me getting this published. Okay.
Very nice, Chris. And Finbar, please go ahead if you have more questions or if you would like to speak with Chris. Please continue.
Well, I'll shall I just talk a little bit about my most recent book?
Oh yes, sure. Please, Chris.
So this is a new book I wrote. Well, first of all, let me say I wrote a book about Sahaja Yoga, which Srimataji was asking me for a lot. I'd see her in the late 1980s, 90s at the airport often, and when she would come to London or leave London, we would go to Heathrow or to Gatwick, one of the airports there, and we'd greet her or wish her farewell, and she would come up and say, when is this book going to be ready and stuff. So finally, again, I wrote many versions of this book, Sahaja, and you would, I mean, there's a famous quotation by the German writer Thomas Mann, who wrote The Magic Mountain and various novels. And he said, a writer is someone for whom writing is more difficult than for normal people. And that's absolutely true in my case. I you know, to try to achieve something that satisfies me, I find very difficult. So this book here, The Pearl of Wisdom, this is my latest book. This is an exploration of wisdom, as I understand it. So it's, I should say, emphasize that word exploration. So it's not that I'm the guru saying it's this, listen to me. Not at all. It's trying to figure out what wisdom is. We, you know, we talk about wisdom. Sometimes in Srimataji's talks, she says this is the key quality, because really it underpins everything. You know, it's an aspect of innocence. It's sort of innocence at the intellectual level, the level of the brain. And so if you really have wisdom, then one should be safe and secure in the center, and so on and so on. So I'm trying to understand what kind of thing wisdom is in this book, how it differs from reason, rationality, and how is it related to common sense, that beautiful down-to-earth quality. And the other main aspect of the book, so that's, you could say, the constructive side. What is wisdom? The other main aspect of it is, why is wisdom apparently so rare a thing in our culture? It's rare, I mean, in the sense that people don't talk about it very much, but also you don't see it very much. We see a lot of stupidity, but not very much wisdom. So I look at this, again, I look at it in terms of subconscious and supraconscious. How is wisdom being attacked? And I feel there is this big supraconscious project, as I call it, which isn't the subconscious or the conditioning side of it, the sort of dead or dying religions, the old philosophies and so on. They're easier to see, but this superconscious, because it belongs to the ego, this project is not so easy to see, and it has a very distorting angle on things and ideology. And so I talk about that a lot, and I hope the book is, it sort of leads a kind of winding path through it. And at the end, you should feel, well, I do understand a bit more about the subject, about the beauties of wisdom and the problems afflicting it. And there's a story that I tell throughout the book. So it's quite a philosophical work on the whole. There's lots of little anecdotes, some from books I've read, stories of other people's experiences, but also some experiences of my own that I thought were amusing or illuminating. But there's also a kind of fairy tale I tell throughout the book, which is called The Pearl of Wisdom. And that kind of gives the whole book a structure to hang on. And at the end, again, hopefully it is a little bit enlightening. So this book took me about 1.5 years of intense work, which is, for me, that's quick, very quick. And again, I thank Richard Payment for his help in getting it published. The cover, this image of the cover, which one of my sons, who's an artist, he colored for
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah, so, but it's from the 17th century, I think. The image is from an alchemical text. So it's an image to do with alchemy. And this lady on the left is Sophia. She's the Sophia of philosophy, the goddess. And the man can be seen as an alchemist or a seeker of truth. I mean, he's rather like me, I think, with his glasses there. And he's following in her footsteps.
Right.
Trying to understand. It's a beautiful image, I think.
Yes,
so,
it is. It is.
There's a lot to the symbolism there.
Wow, beautiful. Very nice. Wow, so much learning today, Chris. And there is another picture, of course, before the other books. I would like to put the other picture as you said you were that you were offering to Shumataji. Which book was it? This I missed this part.
So this is she was staying. That's in my flat in Bristol, and she's looking. These are the days of when we had LPs. We didn't even have CDs in those days. You see that row of LPs, long players in the background. And she's looking at a book of an exhibition catalogue of William Blake. Someone had shown it to her, and she was enjoying the images there. And she talked a little bit about Blake. So yeah.
Was it your house or some other yogi's house? This
Yeah, this is in my flat. So we don't live there anymore, but it was a very nice flat. And yeah, here in Bristol.
Very nice. Wow, which year was it?
That would have been 1981, I think.
Wow, yeah. 1981. Beautiful, beautiful. So, Chris, I would like to, since you were talking about the sitar in the first book, which is the Art, Love, and the Truth, right? In that you were describing all the musicians. One was a star player. So we have star player today. So how about maybe pause for our conversation? We can request Anna, who is with us today, that she can play some sitar, and then we will continue with the other books. And then, of course, if there are any questions from the other yogis that we would like to hand over to them also. How about that? Shall we continue like that? Anna, you are with us, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Yes, as always. And now you told us this raga's name earlier at the beginning, but could you please tell again what was this raga's name?
Yeah, it was Ragmad Matsaran, and it was in Shashanka tal, which is pretty unusual tal. It has only 5.5 beats, so it's not that easy to play it. You probably heard there are a lot of gaps and kind of because there are like 4 beats, and then 5 pause 1. So and then pretty much within that gap, there are a lot of things going on. So pretty much, a lot of notes are played. But also I wanted to mention that actually the teacher that I'm taking classes from, his uncle is Vilayat Khan. So it's the same Garana. So I'm pretty sure that this composition at some point maybe Vilayat Khan was playing.
Oh,
Well,
wow. Very nice. Very nice. And you said that it is not so easy to play, but we never felt that you play so easily. We didn't feel that complication.
There's a lot of work behind it.
Wow, you made it so easy. We really enjoy for listening. Thank you so much, Anna.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, so nice. And I would like to hand over to other yogis who are already with us still. And if there is any question or if there is anyone would like to speak with Chris, now your turn. Is there any question? Okay. Okay, if you don't, I will continue. I have so many questions. So, Chris, it's so beautiful. Excuse me, so beautiful to listen all those, the book, the expression and the explanation and how you wrote it. Every each, the state of the being a realized soul. For example, the wisdom that I would like to go back to that, the book of the wisdom, and pearl of the wisdom, right? And as a Sahaja yogi, what is the being becoming, I mean, to reach, to become a wise person, or what is the wisdom? And do we really get the wisdom from our education, from our learning, or cultural, or nationality? What is it as a realized soul?
Yeah. It's well, it's a very difficult question. And wisdom is something very hard to get hold of. I feel one of the reasons is that the way we talk about wisdom is two things. There is wisdom which is divine. Ultimately, I feel it comes, we would say in our Western modern way, it comes from the unconscious. And so it's sort of complete and pure in itself. And we can get hold of it sometimes through inspiration, just as an artist gets hold of an idea, a beautiful piece of melody or something like that. It's inspired because it exists complete in itself, this wisdom. It's Sophia. I mean, I use this name of the goddess, the Greek name Sophia, a lot in the book, but that's what I mean. And then the other aspect of it is a gradual evolving wisdom that we can acquire, and sometimes we get less wise, sometimes we make complete idiots of ourselves. But gradually, hopefully, we can develop over time a sort of wisdom. So it's these two things. On the one hand, it's absolute, pure, divine, and we can have access to that. And on the other hand, we talk about wisdom as, gradually becoming wise over time. And so I think that's, one of the reasons why it's quite difficult to get hold of. But in the book, I talk a lot about the things that are anti-wise, that really impede, obstruct, and deconstruct wisdom. So in a way, it's to do with avoiding that. It's to do with discrimination. That's so much of what it is discriminating, seeing, what is on the central path and what is on the left side, what is on the right side, so on. So, yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Beautiful. Very nice. I mean, of course, today is such a learning time through you, these books and your experience. And besides that, of course, besides this book, there are other books that I would like to mention it, or I would like to bring it, Chris. And but of course, before that, the question comes from that book: who really we are. And what is the purpose for us to be in here? One of the book, of course, if you explain over there, which is, I believe, Sahaja, right?
Yeah, Sahaja is, well, it's an introduction to Sahaja Yoga. And I talk a little bit, I mean, Srimataji said, talk a little bit about your experiences, how you came and so on. So at the beginning of the book, I do that briefly. It consists of a lot of short chapters, this book. And actually what I've tried to do overall is to give a rounded picture of Sahaja Yoga. And so it's, in some places it's explanatory, talks about the chakras and so on. In other places, there are stories, lots of little anecdotes of Srimataji and my own experiences. And then there's some bits that are quite poetic, like the kind of prayer I read at the beginning. And all this is to try to give a kind of wholeness to the picture I'm giving of Sahaja Yoga. It's, I mean, we are the spirit, this is the ultimate truth. But there's such an interplay between that spirit and this created world, this whole creation, in fact. And, sometimes you think, well, the creation is a kind of covering of the truth, a hiding of it, a maya. But then one shouldn't, I feel, repudiate maya. It's not to be, one shouldn't turn one's back on it. One should engage with it, learn to love it, to see how it is trying to lead us from truth, to deeper truth, and so on. So this book I wrote, a while back. I haven't reread it since. I might find it. Well, I was quite surprised when I read that prayer. I thought, oh, this is rather good. I enjoy that. But, so what I'm trying to say is that one could say, why do you need a book? Why write? Why do anything? The spirit is all there is. You can just sit there, close your eyes, be the spirit. But as we know, the creation is the child of the mother, and it's for our enjoyment. It's also for our instruction. It's also for our correction, but it's for our enjoyment. And so in my books, I'm trying to kind of interrelate those two things, the pure spirit and the whole created universe. And yeah, I don't know if I'm making myself clear or completely obscure. People will say, well, I'm not going to read his books. I haven't a clue what he's talking about. But I'm trying to do that in my writings.
Yes.
Make it beautiful.
But also, I would like to add, kindly, also is an expression of your spirit, right? Writing about the God Almighty and expressing yourself. to the God Almighty. And another thing is like you are connected with the Divine Almighty, and you want to reflect it into words from your heart, right? So
Yeah.
I think so how the musicians, you know, how they express themselves with the notes, with the music, right? Or the artists with the color, with the drawing, and they express themselves. Who are the real life souls? They express themselves, how they feel about the nature, about the music, or about everything. I think, you know, that is the connection. As you are an author and a lecturer, and your mind is expressing through your spirit when you write the book, I guess, right?
That's the aim. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the aim.
So
And yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not an original example, but um, I when these old movies you may have seen where there's someone trying to open a safe, and he's sort of got his ear next to the safe, and he's turning the locks, the tumblers on the safe, trying to listen to the little clicks as
yeah.
the tumbler goes into place. And suddenly, finally, if he gets it right, it opens. And that's sort of quite like, I feel, the experience of trying to create art that is of truth, is of love and truth. And you know, sometimes you just feel it's almost right, the idea is good, but there's something missing, and then you just go on until it just works, you know. And then ironically you feel, I did nothing, I didn't do it, I didn't write that book, you know, I didn't play that music, it just happened. And that's the goal. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, that's true. So yeah, there are a few more pictures that I would like to bring it this right now. So that please you may talk about those items. Oops, sorry. Yes, so that's first, I
So
think.
this is, yeah. So this must be about, yes, this is 1985, and this is in Bristol. We had an ashram there. We lived with several yogis, and we'd just been shopping. Srimati always liked to go shopping, and she'd bought this cape. It doesn't have sleeves, you can see. It's a lovely thing. I mean, it was brand new. The picture isn't very good, but so among other things that day, she'd bought that cape, and she's just trying it on and saying, "Do you like it?" And we're all saying
Yeah.
yes. Oh yeah, and Ruth had to sew a button onto it. That it was, yeah, the button was loose and so on. But I think it suits her very well.
Very beautiful. And I never seen this picture before. Yeah.
No,
Is
it's quite.
you took this picture, or was it in your flat, this picture?
I think my brother-in-law, Ruth's
Oh,
brother, he would have taken this. I was too busy sort of absorbing everything, you know. So
mhm.
he had a good camera, and he took
Yes.
a lot of photos.
What year was it?
85. That would have been
85.
I think so, yes.
Yes, it is a really good camera. It's so clear and very, very looks very good picture, very good quality. Yes. Yeah, wow. And there is one more picture.
Sorry,
Oh,
it might
yes,
have been
please go ahead.
84.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it might have been 1984, my wife is telling me, so it could have been.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
84. Yes.
Yeah, that next photo, if you, that's me and my wife getting married. So this is in London, and
Wow.
that's Srimati there with a baby girl called Olympia, and she's on her mother's lap, and you can see she's eating chickpeas there, I think, and saying hi.
Oh.
And so there was a big story about our marriage, but it was very much what Srimati wanted, and I'm very glad. I'm very glad she wanted it, and it happened. So there we are.
So this was like during the Christmas time?
This no, it was August actually. This is in the garden
Uh-huh.
outside in London, in Cheltenham Road.
Mhm.
It's still there, this ashram, and there were 16 couples getting married that day, just 16, and it was actually Sri Krishna's birthday, so it was
Mhm.
very nice, auspicious that there were 16 weddings, and we had a priest was hired, an Indian priest, to do the ceremony,
Mhm.
and Sri Mataji was overseeing the whole thing, and it was great fun.
Wow. And in during the Shri Krishna Puja time, and then 16 couples, and the same, the number of the the chakras for the 16 is amazing. This connection is the same number.
Just worked out like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a divine plan, must be, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, she's your wife, Ruth. I know she's maybe close to you right now in your room, but I don't know if she would like to come to screen to say hi to us, but or another time.
Just briefly, she will.
Hello. Hi. Your name is Ruth, right? Yes. Yes, pleasure to meet you, Jai Mataji. Such a nice conversation we are having, and I'm sorry I felt to see you, because when we saw the picture of the marriage picture, so it is nice to see you both right now. Yeah, I know it's quite early, but thank you being with us. Earlier, actually, I requested Chris that you can be also our guest yogi another time. So we will not count this one. So, so please, and if you can, I'm sure you have also so many things to share with us. And yeah, it would be a great pleasure to have you if you can. I know it's quite early.
Thank you.
Okay, that's very nice. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are really enjoying with those, the pictures and the books. There are a few more items that I would like to continue, Chris, if it is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will just go. Okay. So how about this book?
Yeah.
The Sophia book, right?
Yeah. So this is a book about Jesus, about Christianity, I suppose. So I told it through the eyes of John the apostle, who wrote the fourth gospel. So it's seen, I mean, we don't know much about him, but it's believed that he lived a long life and died on the island of Patmos. And so I've imagined him in his old age, looking back at his seeking, his time with Jesus, and in particular what came after, when this sinister fellow Paul came along and really tried to kind of co-opt Christ's teaching in his own image, as he thought it was. And so it's a poetic book. Again, it's in a lot of short chapters. And I describe it at the beginning as being a bit like a rag. We know rags can be played again and again and again and again, and they're always slightly different. And we know the image, the story of Jesus is very familiar. To me, I mean, I was brought up as a Christian I went to a school where every day we'd go to church and have a little service, Christian service there. So the stories were all very familiar. But I'm trying to, put a slightly different Sahaj angle on them. And hopefully, it gives a whole picture uh, in a very small, brief way of a Sahaj understanding of Christ and his word.
Mhm.
But it's just a glimpse. What can you say about Christ? He's so great. I mean, I sometimes think, how dare I even tackle this subject? But it just seemed to flow, and Sri Mataji gave it her blessing, and she said, "Yes, that's good. You must put a bit about me at the end." So
Mm.
I mean, there's quite a bit about the mother, but specifically at the very end, it's a bit about Sri Mataji. So that's Sophia.
Oh, very nice. So, Chris, you really make us, many of us, I believe, or everyone, to feel. You are making feel to read all those books. So one of the persons, me, I never seen those books before, but finally I found it, and but maybe you tell us. Where can we find those books? Who would like to read?
Well, they're on Amazon. You can find them. So they're all self-published, as you say. It's very hard to. I mean, the publishing industry is riddled with negativity, and of course, they don't tell you that. It advertises itself as being very all about art, love, and truth, but it's very far from that in reality. There are some good books out there being published, but
Mhm.
in the end, I thought, no, let's just publish them ourselves. We can have control over them that way and do them as we wish to do. So the drawback is, of course, they don't reach the masses. But one day I think maybe they will. Some of them will um, achieve a certain profile, and then lots of people will start getting interested in them, I hope. So, but if you go onto Amazon um, or A Books, Our Libris, they should be available there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yeah.
More recent books, Art, Love, and Truth, and The Pearl of Wisdom, they are published by Lulu, which people know about.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah, I get
you,
so many books. I found them, two of them. Only two of them are there.
yeah, that's right. And
Yes.
those last two were published through Lulu, so
Mhm. Yes.
get them there.
Uh-huh. And
Sure.
I couldn't find the book of the Sophia and the Sahaja one in the lulu.com. So I found only these two of them, as you mentioned.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
not on, but the others are. Yeah, and
Mhm.
there are some other books. I mean, I've written a lot of books which are not yet published, but there's also a whodunit out there somewhere, and a book for children and for older children called The Chalk Giant. That's there. But these are the most Sahaj of my books, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all those explanation. And this book, this book of the picture is also drawn by your son.
No, no. This picture is a early Renaissance Italian painting. I can't recall the name of the artist, but it
Mhm.
was, it's in what do you call it? It's not in copyright, so it's okay to
Uh-huh.
use it. And
Yes.
the one on the cover of Sahaja is Piero della Francesca. It's quite a famous painting with
Mhm.
the goddess with her sort of devotees in inside her cloak. So I thought that was a nice image of collectivity.
Okay, I see. Yes. So we have more picture over here. So let's see. Ah, yes,
Yeah,
this is Sahaja one. Yes.
yes, that's the
Mhm. Okay.
Piero della
Yeah.
Francesca.
Mhm.
Beautiful painting, and
It is.
yeah, there's sort of this nice image of collectivity of her wrapping her devotees in within her cloak. So I thought that was a nice picture to use on the
Mhm.
cover.
Mhm. Yes, beautiful. And the last one, there is one picture of Srimataji, I believe, maybe in your home or some other yogis home.
Yeah, that was again in my home. It was the same time as she was with the Blake book that we looked at, that image. So it had been about 1981, and she's just looking very thoughtful there. Um, it's, you know, again, Sri Mataji, you had these quicksilver changes of mood all the time. You know, one moment laughing away, the next moment, as here, very contemplating something serious. I can't remember the incident. Um,
Mhm.
and then the next moment, chatting away, and then so it was ever changing, ever shifting mood.
Yes, yeah.
And that's a beautiful image, I think.
It is, yeah, it is, and very, very precious. I mean, it's amazing that you had all those moments, and it's a history, right? But for us, you have this experience, and you are making us really experience that moment, and that is the beautiful, actually, feeling for all of us right now. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing all those moments and the pictures, and of course, including your books. So I hope I don't miss any of them, right? Everything I share, I believe all those pictures and the books. So, yeah, I know its time is already over here, 11:10 almost in the night. But yes, the time always flies so fast when we are together. And I believe you have so many things to share with us. But the time is already over from our side. I'm sure you're, because the day already started over there, Chris. So we like to always ask with our pleasure, whenever, if you can. I know it's quite early your time, but we would love to have you again in our program with the other listening other experience from your side, and with, of course, all those moments with Srimataji.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much, Chris. And well, I would like to ask everyone, if is there anyone would like to speak with Chris or ask a question. Please do that before we say goodbye to each other. There is one message came. Okay, Sila is saying, Chris, to you, thank you so much. So wonderful to meditate, hear all experience, and learn about the books. Jai Shri Mataji.
Thank you.
Mhm. So, okay, I would like to hand over to you, Chris. Would you like to say anything to everyone, whoever already with us, whoever left? Because I hope you don't mind. Some of us already left because of the night over here. And yeah, so.
Well, I don't. So we're going to finish now, are we? And I would just like to thank everyone for taking the time to listen, and yeah, hopefully, and thank you in particular, Shanae, for your hosting this meeting and in giving me the opportunity to talk and burble on a bit. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
thank you
And
very much.
Definitely, is I mean, it's not me. I mean, this is the, I mean, of course, but for your desire, your attention, your effort is actually brought us to be together. And I really want to say thank you so much to you for all your time. It's quite early, but we really appreciate it, everything. And also, I would like to say thanks a lot to Pretty Didi, who is from England, as you might know her. So she made us to connect with you. And I would like to really say thank you. Thanks a lot to her that she created this moment and we could able to meet.
Yeah, she's been great. She's great. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And thanks a lot again. And have a wonderful day and pleasure to meet you and keep in touch. And we would love to have you again, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Jai Shri Mataji.
Jai
Have,
Shri
have a good night. Good night. So I know it's quite late, but thank you so much, everyone, being with us again. Thanks a lot. Without you all and without your desire, also this program never works. And the collective meditation and also being together and feeling this joy of the spirit. And of course, it works with the collective. And thank you all for all your time that you have been with us today. And have a wonderful night, everyone. Have a wonderful day, whoever with us in other countries. And I would love to say to everyone, have a wonderful new year and wish we all really have wonderful year with our spirit and with Mother's blessing, with the joy and with the happiness. And I really wish everyone, we can be reflect this absolute knowledge of the divine to everyone who are really seeking the same truth, that we can be a channel for everyone. Jai Shri Mataji. Lots of love to you. Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot.